Hi, so it's Tara Boothby from Sojourn Psychology, and I am here with Kris Crawford, who is with Innovative Mortgage Solutions here in Sherwood Park. He's a longtime friend of mine, and we've been spending some time talking about how he's really tapped into creativity during this COVID crisis, global crisis. But of course, Kris is a mortgage expert with many years' experience. And mortgage brokers are super busy. We know that. That's sort of a thing people know about working with mortgages. But then you guys were really involved with many, many people in a different way. So, Kris, if you're comfortable to talk a little bit about sort of how you came alongside of the community and themes you saw.
Yeah, and I mean, when everything happened back in March, which feels like forever ago, I had someone say the other day that it feels like it's the longest spring break ever because it's just continued on until now. Um, it was difficult. Like we're a staff of 16 people, and during that time there was basically four of us in the office that were, I mean, everyone was working from home answering the calls of the families that they've worked with historically. And it was two or three phone calls a day of families that couldn't get through to their current lender to defer their mortgage, didn't know what they could do about deferring their mortgage, like afraid that they were going to lose their jobs. So they needed to know how to defer their mortgage. So it was all those phone calls. And it's, I mean, you almost become, you almost become a counselor when you're chatting with these people and you're offering basically just the ability to listen to them and then offer up the practical things that they can do, and just the like here's the contact information, like call at 8 o'clock in the morning, don't call at 3 o'clock because you're going to be stuck on hold for at least an hour, if not more. So like call first thing in the morning, not at the end of the day, and just giving them that practicality of like these are some steps to take to get to that point. And yeah, like from a standpoint of like we're always busy, especially during the summer as mortgage brokers, but we were probably busier throughout that time just with dealing, or sorry, not dealing with, but helping with families that were dealing with the pandemic and the economic struggles that leads into. So
Yeah, and I think it's so important, Kris. It's normalizing for so many people. It can feel very isolating and like such a failure, or it's so painful to have to go through that process. To hear that you're not alone in it is so important, even if we're saying it just right now, months later.
yeah, and it's true. And a lot of those conversations, I was actually saying to people, like, yeah, we're having lots of these conversations. Like, you guys are not alone. And it's like this is an unfortunate reality, but for a lot of families, it was. And uh, there's lots of stories of absolute frustration, but there's also lots of stories where like once things had gotten sorted out for families, that it was just a sigh of relief and they could focus in on things, and even in some cases reevaluate how they're doing life, and putting more value on the time with family.
Yes. Yeah, and the constant reevaluation of COVID, that so many of us have been able to do some meaning making. And what I've heard you say about coming along people who are having difficulty maintaining their mortgages, or their home they've had to sell and things like this. Number one, you said that as your skill as the counselor in the situation was listening.
Yeah,
And then there's also this thing of like, what can I do, reasonably do, to as I come alongside of somebody who's in this situation.
yeah. And it's interesting because like I think the instant answer, and the source of a lot of disagreements between my wife and I, is that the natural instinct is to try and fix the problem. And like it's not on, I guess, myself as an individual to offer that person a job or help them find a job if they've been laid off. That I physically cannot do that. Like there's no way to be able to do that. But that's probably not what they need. What they need is just to know that there's someone that's there to listen, and that what's going on is not, it's nothing they've done wrong. This is not shameful. This is normal, and they're not the only one that's that has had to take the mortgage deferral, for instance.
Yeah, yes, I think that's brilliant. And from a psychological point of view, we just need somebody to come along and say, "Hey, you're not alone in your pain." And what I like that you're saying, Kris, is like that fix it thing. Of course, we want to do that. That's why we specialize in a field and we have all the answers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But then it's to this, like, what works is when we slow down. Like, you had to slow down with so many families, and that would have been a lot for you.
yeah,
But also, it sounds like you really just anchored into yourself and figured out, okay, how can I be with these people, which is brilliant.
yeah. Thanks. Yeah, no, and it's yeah, it's awesome. Like, I feel blessed that I could be in that position to like come along people in that way. Um, you know, if it even was a minor impact on their day, then I feel that's a win. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kris, and thank you for opening up about your part of the journey and that. I mean, yeah, it's very, very powerful to hear. And I'm sure there's people that just need to hear this message right now. So thanks again, Kris. And I'll put Kris's fun, creative woodworking info and his contact info in the description below. All right. Take care.